My name is Drew Hansen, and I lead the 9th grade family group here at Ignition Ministries. Growing up as a kid, my father, he was a pastor, so that would make me a pastor's kid. And I always grew up in church, I always went to church. I never really had the choice whether or not to go to church, but I'm sure I would have gone to church anyway. I loved every bit of it. Being a pastor's kid, it's a different way to grow up. I mean, you're definitely, I've heard it said, you grow up in a glass house, so everyone knows who you are, what you do. More importantly, the hard aspect about it is you grow up knowing what people think you're supposed to do, or how you're supposed to act, or who you're supposed to be. And it's really challenging, or it was challenging at times to grow up that way, but I wouldn't trade it out for anything in the world. As a child, I'll say, in a way, I always knew kind of what good was and what evil was, per se. I mean, I knew if I told a lie, I would feel bad about it. I knew if, I was rude or like disrespectful to my parents. I knew in my heart, deep inside, I knew God didn't like that, but I really didn't make a conscious effort to really follow God till I was 11. Even after I was 11, I really accepted God into my heart and my life, and I really started believing in Him and following Him. It wasn't always easy. I had some hard times when I was always homeschooled as a child, and when I went to high school for the first time, it was a hard experience, and that was the first time my faith was ever really tested. When you grow up around kids at church, or your sisters and your parents, all being Christians or generally churchgoers, it's a lot easier to follow God because you have all these good influences. And when you go to high school, everything is hitting you this way and that. There's all this pressure, there's all these voices that aren't necessarily from God. And it was hard. My whole life I'd never really known what it was like to live in sin. And for a short period I did, and that it almost destroyed me. That's the only way I can explain it. That was the worst period in my life ever, and I will never go back. And so I came back to God, and for a long time I struggled with the thought, is God really going to take me back as, His child? Does He really love me? And for a long time I felt like, I was worthless and I'd let God down. God spoke to me through all of it, and He never let me go. And every time I would turn to leave Him, He would always call me back. And finally I said, I'm done with this life of sin, and I remembered what it was like to follow Jesus, and it is the most beautiful thing. It's life. It truly is life. I know Him. I've spent time with Him. I know that He's good, and I trust Him now. And if He says go left, I go left. And if He says go right, I go right. Because it's that relationship that's deep inside, and I know Him and I trust Him. I know His voice. And that's what keeps me growing most. Jesus said that when the Holy Spirit descends on us, He will lead us into all truth. And that's what I depend on. It's not what I know about God, even though I've been a pastor's kid for 23 years. It's the Holy Spirit's truth. And that's what I know. And that's what's truth in my life. That's what keeps me growing more than anything. In high school, that's where I really knew that God had a call on my life to be a pastor, and that's what I'm doing with my life right now. My name is Drew Hansen, and I'm second.